So this is Baron Samedi, another character from Live and Let Die. So I have two of the three Live and Let Die characters, the one I don't have. And the only James Bond Big Chief Studio figure I don't have is Solitaire. Um, Baron Samedi is an interesting character. He's definitely one of the most interesting characters from James Bond. Um, the character is based on a character from Haitian Voodoo, and in the movie, it makes it clear that this person, Baron Samedi, is a character. He's shown in a show, but he also seems to be the actual Baron Samedi, maybe. But at one point, he is shown in street clothes, but he's never given any name other than Baron Samedi. So he is sort of an enigma. He definitely works with the villain, Mr. Big, Kananga, but he also seems to kind of do his own thing. And he's about the only character in there, other than maybe Solitaire, who possibly has supernatural powers. It's hard to tell whether it's a part of his act or whether he legitimately has supernatural powers or what. But he is also one of the rare villains who survives to the end, and I guess that's appropriate since he's the man who could not die. This is another figure that I really sat on for a long time and debated whether I was going to get it or not, and I finally did go through with it and got it at the original price. I think I saw that they're going to be possibly reissuing it in case you are interested. Um, I kind of wanted to get this figure. One of the reasons is because since he has so much exposed flesh, I assumed that this was not a repurposed body, but was an original. Um, so I assume it is. Uh, it's got to be possibly the worst articulation of any of the figures, which is ironic since he is the least encumbered by clothing. This was another situation where the left arm became detached at the elbow, and so I did have to take the jacket off. But it's in many cases, I know that, and I mentioned this before, that comparing it to a Barbie doll, obviously this has way more points of articulation. But in my Amazon review, I actually wrote that I think the articulation in the knee is better in a Barbie doll because it's just everything on here is just poorly done um, in terms of articulation. The figure looks great; it looks fantastic, um, and it is the only. Yeah, look at that. That really is Jeffrey Holden. That's fantastic. It's the only figure in the James Bond Big Chief Studio line with two head sculpts, and the other one is actually better than this one. And the only reason I have this one on instead of the other one, which is stored in a box, is because this is the thing with Big Chief Studios. They kill you. I couldn't get, I think that the peg or something got stuck in there, and I could not switch to the other head. The other is the laughing head, and it's fantastic. But I tell you, the QC in Big Chief Studios needs some work. The facial sculpts are so good, really fantastic, but their QC issues is really a problem. The hat fits very nicely on his head. Um, don't want to push it too hard down. I don't want to scuff the paint or anything, but I do keep the hat on when he's posed. The outfit feels nice. It's kind of silk. It is removable. I know it's removable because I had to remove it to get his arm back together. This is plastic, but these are, I believe, individual beads on probably a string. So that's nice. I don't show it because it's again in a box, but he has that flute, kind of a flute uh, walkie-talkie or whatever, and it looks like they spent about 3 cents on it. It's got to be the worst um, extra that I've seen on any of these figures. His bottoms are felt, kind of cheap. This is string. Again, doesn't exactly feel high quality. But it is the look that really gets me. This the figure looks fantastic sitting there, and so I don't regret getting this one. It's an interesting figure. It's an interesting character, and it did get me thinking. Though I was wondering each one of these lines they've done, Live and Let Die, Goldfinger, have had three figures. So in this case, they didn't make one of the main villain, which is Mr. Big Kananga. They went with Baron Samedi instead, which I think is a good decision because although I like Yaphet Kotto, I think he did a great job. I think this is a much more striking figure than if they had done Mr. Big or Kananga. So I think that even though he's a secondary or just an ancillary character in Mr. Big's gang, I think that it was the right decision. Now the latest one in Doctor No, they only made two figures, which is it's interesting because they had the perfect opportunity for a figure that I think tons of people would have loved, which is Honey Rider. So I don't know why they chose to only make two figures for Doctor No instead of three, which they had done in all the other ones. But it does look very nice. I don't know. I don't really regret not getting Solitaire. Again, the reason I didn't get her was she just had this stare in her eyes that I found kind of disconcerting, and so I ended up not. Her also her outfit was a bit much, and I think that the whole display of her um, was a bit extravagant. So I said, and I'm gonna skip that one. But this one I don't regret, even though again the articulation is so bad. It is so bad. I don't know how you can't get the articulation correct. I generally collect. I'm much more of a 1/6 scale collector, or I'm sorry, 1/12 scale. This is 1/6, 1/12. In the 1/12 scales, if you had articulation like this, it would be completely unacceptable. Um, but I guess these are more, as I said in another one, these are more like soft statues, slightly movable statues that you can feel with different textures and effects like that. So I guess that's how I just have to look at it, not as so much a heavily posable figure, but just one that looks beautiful on a shelf. All right.